Afternoon, Jonah.
Good afternoon, Patrick. Yeah, it's rare that we're doing it in the afternoon.
On a Sunday afternoon.
Sunday. Oh, that's very
Yeah,
rare.
indeed.
But but wonderful to be with you again, and I look forward. Welcome to everyone, the light in everything.
Place where we cultivate a conversation that honestly and earnestly wants to get into the deeper mysteries of Christianity. Yeah, we start off our whole conversation always by reading from the Gospel of John in chapter 8, a word from verse 12. Again, Jesus spoke to them, saying, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to remember this morning our conversation from last time, and what awoke in me as kind of a leftover, an after image, or what struck me was something from a previous conversation, actually. And it kind of, I want to mention it because it just seems so important and valuable as we journey. Of course, our theme is facing evil. And as we journey with our listeners to just discover different pictures and archetypes and tools to in our time, in the spirit of Christ, following our Lord, to discern in battle and navigate evil. Not an easy task. But what awoken me this morning is actually this part again from the of chapter 12, the book of Revelation, where Michael casts the dragon down, and then we've worked through that, where the woman flees and is protected with the wings of the eagle and is protected by the earth. And then it says, then the dragon was enraged with the woman and went away to make war on the rest of her children. That is, all who keep the commandments of God and bear witness for Jesus. So it just struck me for some reason this morning that, oh my gosh, okay, so the dragon is battling and interested in those people who are trying to find and practice God's commandments, and those people who are trying to have a relationship with Jesus. That's what we should expect. It just struck me again this morning. I
What
mean,
else? What
I'm
else? Why would we be surprised if we're under attack?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
I need so many helpful reminders of that, because it doesn't say the dragon goes and makes war on, a political party or this group of people or that group. No, it says those who are trying to practice living in and with Jesus and keeping God's commandment. I think that's just so instructive. Oh, right. It's not if you're feeling oppressed and challenged by the dragon in yourself and in the world, that's a good sign.
Right.
From a certain perspective. That's
Yeah.
meaning that's what's meant to be going on.
Yeah, you would a pleasant protected life is not the promise
It's not the
of
promise.
a life oriented towards true morality and the martyrdom of Jesus Christ, that is the witness of Jesus Christ. That there is one being who has been the enemy of that community
Yeah,
from the beginning.
from the beginning. And it's in our divine destiny ordering to face that and work to overcome the dragon. So anyway, that was a helpful reminder for me from the Spirit this morning, and I thought I'd just remind us. And then as I reflected back, I mean, we also talked about last time, we brought up, or it was brought up through my experiences of high school and having to pick the shortest book possible in Russian literature, this story of the Antichrist, as we started to also converse about the Antichrist and what that could mean. And living with some of those pictures from Vladimir Soloviev's imaginative story. And I think what particularly stuck with me was this part where the great one, the great hero, the super talented, superhuman human individual, as he's wrestling with surrendering his own pride, you could say, has a kind of Christ experience. He sees the face of Christ, and he then interprets it as a kind of pity that pricks his pride. And he says, no, I'm not going to bow. I'm not going to surrender. I'm not going to worship because he pities me. And I just, that kind of was this final closing of the wound,
Mm,
as we see in the book of Revelation, where the beast's wound is closed over.
yeah. Because he does get wounded, right? In the story that Vladimir tells,
That's a good point. Yeah.
in the sense that he's in despair, right? And he wants to help humanity, but wants to be the one to save humanity.
Oh, yes.
And it just stirs up his whole, how could it be this one from the one from Nazareth in Galilee, the Galilean,
And not me.
and all that would mean if he's not the one, and that he is the one. But yeah, just that whole process, and it's kind of crying out in the middle of that pain, and then actually having an encounter and seeing his face and seeing in his eyes that mercy,
Yeah.
which could have been, right. It's like there's an opportunity that many of us, I think, have felt, that does the final break open of the wound, and it just suddenly mercy is flowing into us, and hope and joy. And instead it's a last protection of pride that blocks that possible breaking point, becoming a true wound that can be a healing, humbling, mercy-filled soul. Yeah, yeah, it's powerful.
Right. So I just was struck by that. And what it also awoke in me, and then I want to ask you a question, is, sometimes in our circles, Patrick, and in anthroposophical circles, or circles that are inspired by Rudolf Steiner, we are speaking about how it's very important to discern and face evil, and kind of discern evil
Mm,
and know it,
mm,
which is undoubtedly true and valuable
Mm.
and helpful. But I think it's
Mm.
interesting in this story that there's an added distinction. And I think you can sense where I'm going,
Yeah.
and this links to the book of Revelation, that it's actually saying it's not enough to just discern evil, but actually worship the, the Lamb, or open up and receive the Lamb, receive God into your, bow down. Meaning it's not enough to just be you. It's also, you need to receive something from God. And I think that's why in the book of Revelation, that it's so keen, not just on discerning evil, but worshiping the Lamb. That's the greatest weapon. It's like an extra step. It's also a kind of self-offering, or giving over and receiving his offering in an act of worship. And I think that's why it's those who worship the Lamb
Yeah.
that are protected.
Hey, listen, I can feel souls hearing the word worship over and over again that you just said and just backing up,
Yeah.
right? Like how is it possible that I can come into my full dignity as a human being, my independent, think for myself, human self, the path of the end of worship, that I no longer, even though I think in the English language we developed a derogatory use of the gesture of worship taken from the Chinese, actually,
Mm, yeah.
where the emperor is an embodiment of the god of the people, indeed of the god of the universe, a god on earth, and you have to bow. You have to prostrate yourself to be in right relationship to this divine God human. And the word that the way we say it in English is kowtow.
Wow, I didn't know that. Right.
That was what it meant, to prostrate yourself and bow. And so I'm not going to kowtow to anyone. So it was like, not only is it like being derogatory to worship, but I'm also saying those are those Easterners. So this phrase that's there as a derogatory term in the Western English language, it's certainly in American English. I don't know if it is in British English, or as one of our colleagues would say, like English English. Um, I don't. I imagine it's there.
Yeah.
That is, I won't kowtow to anyone. I won't give to bow and worship another being would be to give up my dignity. So you're saying that the only way I can make my way through the challenges of facing evil is to give up the dignity of myself and independent thinking, independent, capable person is to promise a path of weakness, a path of patheticness, of like, please don't start going on about worship, Jonah. So I think that's an expression, right? This beautiful thing of the growing holiness of the self, the independent self. Again, this is connected to the mystery of the name of God, I am. To not bowing to kings anymore. But what does that mean in my relationship to God? And so you were really bringing up this thing of like, well, is it enough to just discern?
Right.
Is it enough to know the difference between the different spiritual beings? Yeah, I just want to say, man, I grew up in anthroposophical circles at the Waldorf School. I grew up in the Christian community. I can tell you, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Me too. I grew up
In,
exactly.
in part because just because you can talk about them all day long doesn't mean you really can discern them.
Right.
and how they slither into your mind and your heart and your will,
Yeah.
to just really realize we're completely outmatched.
Yeah.
These are beings that are also of a much higher rank than a human being, as we're not just over against a challenger who is a fellow human, and we need to meet them with all that we are and have. We definitely are called. That's what you give a picture of people who are under attack by the dragon, who hold to something and don't hold on to something else, which we talked about before. They're ready to die. They're ready to stand in the battle line, stand for the truth and the good and the beautiful, to bear witness to the witness of Jesus Christ, to hold true to being good. And they're ready to die for it. They're warriors. They're ready to stand in that. It takes incredible strength.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're holding their dignity, but they're drawing their dignity from their relationship to another.
Mm.
And they've recognized that the powers that are going to be needed in order to overcome these forces are greater than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the despair in human hearts right now, in many of these anthroposophists, spiritual scientists that I have known and grown up with, who have worked to try to name and discern evil, they're despairing.
Yeah.
They're despairing at the state of the world, the state of their communities, what's happening right now. How come we're not winning? How come we're not being able to overcome all of this and implement the great new culture that is the hope of humanity? Or there were many of the most outstanding teachers of these things fell precipitously to the influence of the enemy who devoured the innocence of human beings. I know too many who broke up marriages, for example, and used their spiritual science to explain why it was karma, why it had to be, and used their spirituality to explain them following their ravenous desires. And I don't exempt myself from the influence of these beings. I thank God to this day, there but for the grace of God to go I, that I have not done so. But I also have the humility to recognize I'm outmatched. And so I think, and I really hope we can get to this at some point, that that our liturgy has a secret there. And I'm so excited that you brought this. The work of Michael in the discernment process, in the earnestness process, in the cognitive knowledge process is preparatory. It's preparatory. He prepares us for the gentleness of Christ. This is our liturgy.
Beautiful. Earnestness streams from his shining earnestness that prepares us for the gentleness of Christ. Yeah.
But it's preparatory. We want to get to an intimate meeting with the one who has a self that the enemy cannot defeat, cannot claim, cannot trap, cannot imprison, cannot over-influence. We are wrestling souls under attack. We need access to the one who has the victory in his being. He won.
Right?
He won.
Yeah. It's already done from a certain point
He
of view.
completed the victory on Golgotha. That was a cosmic victory against the powers of darkness.
Yeah.
As a human, but a divine human. And I need him in me. I need him with me, strengthening me. I need a king.
Yeah.
And that's part of the discernment. That's the next part of the discernment, which I think is often not there. It's like all these evil powers are like out there, rather than they all have access to me.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to have even greater access to me. And therefore I need Michael and Christ.
Yeah.
I need discernment. And part of that discernment is I cannot do this on my own. I am outmatched. That's part of the discernment. And that I am ever threatening to be swallowed into, sucked into, pulled into the goals and intentions of the enemies of God and my humanity. Yeah, so that's part of the
Good.
discernment. Like if we don't discern that we
I
need
love it.
a devotional union practice with the beloved, with another, as a part of the healing protection of our very self, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble. I love that. I want to emphasize it, and I want to add just one little piece, and
Yeah,
then
you go.
it because it even shows this preparatory stage of discernment where Michael in our liturgy is um, the evil powers of the world are under his feet. He's discerned them. He's recognized them, and he's, you could say, subduing them or
Yeah,
overcoming them. But that's not it. That's just one piece. Then he's also guiding us, asking us to follow him to the cross, to the place where the Lamb is showing his full activity. So again, it's just another way to see exactly what you're saying.
yes,
It's fine to it's important to discern evil. It's important to discern in that your susceptibility to it and the inadequacy that you're outmatched, as you said so beautifully. But that's not enough. We have to follow then him in his earnestness to the gentleness of the Lamb. And the King of Kings picture is also there, isn't it?
that's it.
Because it's not that we're trying to say, give up your individuality, give up yourself. No, give up your ego, which you hear all the time. Give up your thinking. No, but bring it to the Lamb that it join with the King of Kings, with the one who can think in us.
Yeah. There is no route to the healing of who we are if we don't have a free relationship with a power greater than ourselves. It must be greater.
Must be greater.
Meaning one we sense that we can bow to in his, and that inspires that in us. But he's also lowered himself so and dressed himself as a servant, for example, in John 13, gotten low and washed our feet and become our friend. And so there's a way in which we see who this God is. This is a God who isn't desirous of groveling weaklings, but elevating us into kingship so we can become friends.
Yeah.
This is, again, so that discerning his nature, then it's like, oh, I'm happy to feel called into a brother relationship with you, and a relationship where I see in you the power of the Creator in its fullness in a human, which is beyond what I am right now.
Beautiful. And I just love, I want to emphasize that brother relationship, because it's also interesting that he's doing the same thing. This is also so important.
Yeah.
Christ is also putting himself in a place of worship to the Father.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's asking us to do something that he's not doing.
Yeah.
That's also, I think, a key.
Yeah.
if I'm going to feel, um, it's weird if if someone bosses you around and tells you things that you know they're not doing or have no experience of.
Ugh.
It's actually a weird, not good feeling.
Yeah.
But if you know the one who's asking you to do things has plumbed the depths of everything you're suffering and is suffering that too, and is doing the same thing, it feels much more in integrity.
Yeah. Yeah, and so right, to look at the life of Jesus is to observe from the very beginning someone under attack.
Mm.
Sent out into the desert, 40 days of fasting, and then here comes the devil. That's the first encounter, and then all of his facings of the demons, and him waiting because he knows I can't go to Jerusalem too soon. If I fully go there and show who I am, that will draw out the enemy that has been there from the beginning. Again, chapter 3, at the moment, and in Genesis, at the moment when the snake is there with the woman and the man, the first humans, God says the nature of this relationship. It's going to be enmity between you and the seed of the woman. That's the exact same phrasing for Revelations 12. These are the seed of the woman. The word, it says children in your translation, but it's spermatos. It's the seed of the woman. We're the seed that come from this one. Just like that's the same word for that child that was taken up to heaven. So this life that Jesus lives goes under increasing attack until we watch how the crowd turns on him, how the leaders turn on him, how the Romans execute him and torture him. And cosmic darkness descends, covering up the light of the sun at his death. It is a full-on attack. And he shows out. So again, we talked about this a million times. I feel like he's showing us that the self that I have in me, which generated a new creation also at that moment, and from then on had victory over the enemy, achieves that victory by going through all of the attacks that the enemy has and coming out the other side and staying true all the way, true to God, true to himself, true to in his love to his people. That's our job. That's our work.
That's our
Be
work.
true to God, which is being true to yourself, which is being true to your neighbor. It's like, it's that triangle is the test where the enemy's coming at us. And our work is in the middle of all that attack, where it will be given every opportunity to go around it, to go under, to not do those things in order to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
We will have lost ourselves.
Right. Because part of that protection, that true protection, means to often and always be ready to offer yourself like the lamb, with the lamb, through a kind of death and resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting in this higher power to lift and bring what is needed when it's ripe.
Yes. So much trust in so much trust in being true, faithful, so much trust in being good, that if I'm extinguished, the good will continue. That's what matters.
And that is scary. There's no way around it. And that fear of being extinguished, I think, is just, it's one of the deepest fears, and it's also one of the places where the adversary can link in, like the
That's
story
it.
in the Antichrist.
Yeah.
I won't be able to be myself, and I won't be able to put my stamp on the world and have it be
I won't have everyone bowing to me in adoration.
I won't be glorified.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a moment in my spiritual journey. It was a very, very potent moment. It was, so I started seminary when I was 24 years old. I at that time in 2000, the year 2000, there was only one seminary in the whole world, and it was in Germany. And I was ready. I had visited, and I knew this is the place I wanted to study. I was not totally sure I wanted to be a priest, but it was probably going to happen. And I had the grace of life to have a friend, Mary Graham. Shout out Mary, one of our faithful listeners, probably
Whoa.
mentioned her before. Translator of some of our publications that we're working on. She was staying at a congregation there, also hoping to start seminary. She was staying in a congregation in Darmstadt, Germany, where our very, very dear and beloved Gisela Triemer has worked for many, many years. And I wanted to go somewhere where I could spend like 3 weeks to brush up on my German before I started, studying at the seminary. And in those 3 weeks, I had this experience out on the deck. It was a beautiful little deck, kind of veranda on the second story. The sun from the south would shine upon the plants out there. And there were a couple of other students who were there and around who were going to be heading to seminary. It was just a beautiful 3 weeks. It's Easter time. And a word rose up in my soul while I was just contemplating my journey, point of life, purpose of my existence, out on this veranda, warmed by the sun. And it was, I don't want to be a moon. I don't just want to reflect a light. I want to be a sun. I want to be a source of light.
Uh,
And I think this gets at this mystery,
mhm.
which I think is totally true. I think it's a true word from my heart and from the human heart. We are called actually to radiate and just reflect. Not
Amen.
the cool light of wisdom, but the warm light of love and generative light, the light of life from our first word. But in the middle of that is then a secret, which is the way that is opening up my heart to the heart of another. And this is our sacrament of consultation, that if the threat would be is if I were to believe myself, I myself am the source of light and life, I could become the Antichrist.
For sure. Yeah.
But God has so shaped the circumstances, yes, you can shine. Right? Jesus telling all of the disciples, you are the light of the world in the Gospel of Matthew. And John completes it by saying, from the mouth of Jesus Christ, I am the light.
Of the world. Yeah.
So this desire to not have my eye being what radiates, but his eye through my eye. And this is the feminine energy in the ego. I want to be the mother who receives him like a seed into the heart of hearts within me, and not just put myself forward in the masculine gesture.
Beautiful. I love how you describe that. I feel like there was an experience I had last weekend in the Finger Lakes in this,
Mm.
it's called the Remembrance Farm, that
Oh,
one
I
of
know
our
that was the name.
students, Remembrance Farm, where one of our students, Sean Waters,
Sean Waters.
woohoo! And we did this weekend workshop with the budding congregation there. It was really wonderfully.
Mm.
I was so moved by it. It was one
Mm.
of one of the holiest experiences I've had in my priesthood, I have to say.
Wow, so beautiful.
And it's just this place where there's this potential symbiotic relationship with the farm and the farmer, biodynamic farm there, and the congregation, and maybe someday a potential priest there. But during that workshop, what awoke for me when you were speaking there, Patrick, is I was in a private consultation with one of the members, and they described exactly that. For them at this point, there was a revelation where they realized I had been trying to be the son out of myself.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
been, I spent a lifetime being the one who feels that if I'm going to be successful as a spiritual person, I need to generate and be the source
Mm.
for others. And for the first time, this person realized, oh my gosh, I've actually never actually freely allowed into my heart of hearts the seed of Christ Jesus, him himself, as an other being into my heart. And then actually from his strength, becoming a son
Yeah.
in his likeness and image. And I mean, I describe it in a kind of in the pictures, and of course there was a whole journey in that, and it would be too much to go into that for their confidentiality, but it was so profound to also then again be with someone who for the first time experiences, gosh, I've been actually trying to do this on my own, and
Yeah.
I thought that was the Christ in me.
Right. Mm. Oh, wow.
I thought that was what I was meant to be doing, to be the Christ to activate the Christ in me. But I missed this part of receiving it as other into my heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's also part of the drama, I think, of our time is when God made us, the human being, the Hebrew scriptures just reveal this deep, deep secret, which is so key. Let us make the human being in our image. And so they made the human being, male, female. He
Mm,
made them. And one way to imagine that is to a male human and a female human, which is fine. But then you have to imagine that there's a male God and a female God, and
right,
not
because that's,
one God
yes, that would be
or
consequent.
God in three. So like a father in the human sense of the word, the male, the physiological sense of the word. So this, rather than it's a real thing, and you can feel like there's the feminine, the feminine divinity is missing for many people in the Christian tradition. And in many Christian traditions, the masculine gesture is way overstated, including many times our own,
Yeah.
the masculine gesture.
Mhm.
And so discovering that the ego itself has a masculine and feminine capacity inside it
So important.
helps us understand also some of the great challenges to egohood in our day, struggling to understand what is our true identity. So for me, that addition of the warrior who goes to stand for truth and goodness, and there's a kind of liberation also I wanted to talk about too. Like, yes, it's hard, but also there's a feeling like, no, a level of freedom and dignity comes into me when I become ready not to sell my soul and ready to stand for truth and goodness as best I can. Even while I know I'm probably just a Peter, I'm like, Lord, I'm ready to fight to the end for you. And like when it's going to come down to it, I'm like definitely going to deny him. Right? He knows his disciples too. Like, yeah, I'll be there, and then I'm just not. Like, he knows. He knows what's in me. He knows my weaknesses. But that can feel like a free call, real freedom to be able to feel that within us, readiness to stand. But then also this other side of readiness to open, readiness to receive, to be filled with another. And the softness and the gesture of release and openness. And you can just feel, oh, of course. This is the breath of God. It holds, it opens, it holds, it opens, it stands, it receives, right? It's the heartbeat of his heart.
Yeah. Makes
And so
total
we're
sense.
going to need to have that hold, release, stand, receive,
Receive, surrender, go through death, receive resurrection power,
meet the enemy with strength
meet the
through
enemy.
the strength he's poured in
Yeah.
and over. Sometimes we may have to, as you know, like the further you go into, and also responsibility and leadership within those who are the seed of the woman, the dragon's coming. There may be times where we have to say to someone who is in the circle, get behind me, Satan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which Jesus says to Peter. And there may be times where we may need to say, forgive me. I have been the vehicle. I have been the one.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, gosh, our time is almost up, but I did have a quick question.
This is
So,
all just preparatory for the real question.
right, but I don't know if, and we'll have to see how much time, or maybe it can kind of bleed into the next episode. But at least I can ask it and see how you receive it and what you think. But because last time we did something from a kind of literature that I had been familiar with. I was wondering, Patrick, if you also maybe had a book, or a fictional book, or something outside of what we would normally think of, the gospel or something, that also kind of gives a picture or helps us understand a little bit better the Antichrist, or this gesture
Yeah.
of the Antichrist.
Yeah, a very rich text for this, and a very early one, but incredibly prescient for the modern era, is C.S. Lewis's third installment in his so-called space trilogy. So his much less well-known set of books that some of our longer listeners know, we've talked about before. It begins with Out of the Silent Planet, which is this story of a dramatic space travel from Earth to Mars.
Oh,
And then in Paralandra, he takes on the mystery of Venus. And he's meditating the whole time also on the masculine and feminine mysteries in this series and the nature of evil. And he's trying to reconsecrate the heavenly world, which is being desecrated by the modern worldview. So the starry worlds, the planetary beings, and the third one is called That Hideous Strength, and it leads back to Earth. What is the Earth drama? How will the Earth? How will it? What is the battle that's happening there, that it can be recovered as
Hmm.
a member of the heavens?
Hmm.
It's been cut off. That's what that's called, the silent planet. It's not in communication with the heavens anymore. It's a really powerful picture.
Interesting.
It's an extraordinary book. I mean, it's wild. Like, I feel like he achieves some things. He's reaching very high for very high territory, and some of it's achieved, and it ends in just amazing scene. I mean, Merlin is raised from the dead in this book.
Whoa. This is
Yeah.
That Hideous Strength?
That hideous strength.
Okay, I
There's
haven't
a
read
battle
it.
for the spirit of England, Albion, and uh, the difference between Albion and Britain. So,
Hmm.
anyway, so there's a whole meditation he has on like England and its true calling. But in it is a kind of initiatory story of a man and a woman. You're in a relationship. Both of them go through a test
Hmm.
in two different kind of ways. And the one that struck me very deeply in the sense of the Antichrist that you and I have been pointing at is the figure of Mark. He's a scholar at like kind of a classic, like, an Oxford-like place, just like C.S. Lewis was. And his temptation the whole way is the inner circle. The inner circle. And he sacrifices relationship after relationship to see if he can get advanced into those higher echelons where, the best positions, the most brilliant minds, that's where they're working, where the masters of the universe are having that conversation, where the big decisions are being made and the deep knowledge is being gained. And so he keeps making sacrifices to the false gods, losing his relationships with people who are good and bring kindness and goodness into his life for this hoped for circle that he's going to enter ultimately. And so eventually things go really haywire and crazy, and he gets captured and put into jail, and he thinks that he's going to be hung and he's going to die. And this proves to be what saves him. Because in this moment, while he's in his cell, his captors who want to take him through an initiation to finally destroy his ego
Hmm.
so that it can become a part of a hive mind, of a group of beings who are actually have a secret kind of location on the moon, who are wanting to overtake the earth.
Whoa.
And they're the corresponding picture to the microbes, microbial beings, these microscopic, hive mind cells. There are the macrobes,
Wow.
and they live in pure objectivity
Hmm.
and rationality. And the highest efficiency of the human self and the most power can be reached if you can kill off the realm of sentiment and the heart and enter pure objectivity. And you explain everything away in terms of morality and sentiment and beauty and goodness as just chemical reactions. So it's like, it's materialism taken to its ultimate conclusion, which will include like that the wars that are taking place in the 20th century are all a part of a longer plan. They're the first two wars of 16 wars that are going to happen, which will lead to the near wiping out of the human race because we don't need a large population anymore.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to have strong feelings, chemical reactions to this.
No.
His initiator says, Dr. Frost.
Dr.
Frost is,
Frost. Okay.
he's a little heavy-handed sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's really powerful how it's when he finally thinks he's going to die, he does a life review. And from the perspective of death, it begins to be illumined where was something good and where was something empty. And you see that death has become a servant of Christ. Because death is a friend who shows us what really matters.
Hmm.
So that by the time he enters the jail cell, he's already inwardly reshifted his orientation and knows these are not my friends. I don't want to get into their inner circle. But he goes through a final temptation, which is super powerful to read.
Hmm.
He comes under a demonic attack. And it's the last, as he's being initiated, there is this macro being who those who are going to survive into the future, they destroy themselves and enter into this hive mind and live in pure objectivity. That is the inner circle.
Hmm.
That is the ultimate power, ultimate intelligence. And he goes through his desire that had lived in him this whole time to be in the innermost circle and have access to the deepest power, even though their purposes are horrific. He's tempted to be a part of what looks like will survive and to have that inner initiatory power and knowledge. So it's power and knowledge without the heart. It's the beast and the serpent without the lamb.
Hmm.
And even that's not the last of it. Then there's like another scene, like he has a bit of a breakthrough there, but then they take him through into another room and they put him through an amazing set of, it's described as an initiation. They're trying to initiate him into evil.
Yeah. Wow, that's so
And
interesting.
it's just, it's worth reading.
Hmm.
It's worth reading. And one of the things that they say is, we will no longer have need for the rest of our body. The human being will become all head.
Hmm.
All head. Yeah.
For the sake of power and knowledge
And efficiency
and
and
efficiency. Yeah.
microbial evolutionary survival. Yeah.
It's so interesting how, I mean, the Soloviev story and that story have big similarities, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're both also clearly initiation process.
Yes. And I forgot to mention it, they'll become all head, and the culture, human culture, will be technocratic. That's its goal. Technology and bureaucracy in ultimate rule.
Beautiful. Well, great. We had time.
Suggested reading.
Suggested reading, That Hideous Strength.
But it's heavy. It's heavy and it's dark and not for the faint of heart. That Hideous Strength. Yeah, thanks, Jonah. Appreciate you asking me, and I really look forward to taking a next step in this series.
Thanks, Patrick.
Bye, Jonah.
Bye.